On this week's episode of the Heating Up podcast, we are doing our full March Madness recap, talk about our busted brackets, the highlights, the lowlights, everything in between. Go through our Sweet 16 preview, talk a little Shohei, talk the new NFL rules that dropped, and then continue with Heat Check, the screaming hot Heat Check. Get all your favorite bets here. So tune in, listen up, and here we go.
Hello, friends. I'm Jim Nance, and I'll welcome you to a tradition unlike any other.
He's heating up.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!
He's on fire. Cristiano Ronaldo. Sensational. Boom shakalaka.
You believe in miracles? Yes!
There it goes. See ya.
He's heating up.
Trying to get open, fires away.
Fire! It's over. The Bulls win at the buzzer. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
God, that intro still gets me jacked up. If that doesn't get your juices flowing, the problem is you. No Premier League this week on episode 44 of the Heating Up podcast, our Hank Aaron episode, if you will. No Premier League, so no getting my heart ripped out by Tottenham this week. So let's jump right into all of the March Madness fun, the highs, the lows. You know, we've made some money, we've lost some money. And Mike, frankly, I can't wait to hear how the rest of your weekend went, because I know you were dabbling in the entire bracket, all the games on the docket.
I'm not down money.
Yeah, did you have fun and did you have a good time? Because it's all about the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, there were points where I was questioning how hard I was going, but I bet on every game but like 3. So fun is, did my family have fun? No,
Maybe not. It's a slugfest
still
out
got
there.
a roof over our heads.
Yeah, for now, until on Tuesday, right? I think when do they collect on Tuesdays? I think you'll be all right. But special shout out before we go into all of it. I feel like we need, thank you so much for everybody that got in and as a part of the bracket, what was it, 150, 160 something brackets we got going on. So all very exciting. And special shout out to Joanne. Miss Buckley coming to clutch with the perfect Sweet 16. Sarah, you know anything about this? Is she as jacked up and amazed as we are?
I do. I have a statement on her behalf. So
I need to hear it.
She felt like it was kind of a little bit of, misleading, I guess, if she didn't provide the information that she's in there with 2 brackets, my mom. The first one she tried. The second one, she accidentally clicked new bracket. Didn't know how to get rid of it. And I said, there can be no blank brackets in here. You have to fill this out. So scrambling last minute before the brackets closed, she randomly selected teams, may or may not have confused the reputation of UNC and NC State, which was the better basketball school. Took NC State very far, Final Four, which is doing well so far for her, obviously, with the run they're making. And here she sits at, I think it's a 99.9 percentile for the ESPN brackets, which I told you guys this, but I think she's tied with like 12,000 other people, which is just insane, the number of brackets that are in there. If that is a 99.9 percentile, that's insane.
Yeah.
How many people are in there? But yeah, we'll see what happens. She needs a deep run from NC State. I told her she might have to come on the podcast if she chooses, if she wins. And I think we have to have her on at that point, get some strategy talk from her. Because I feel like we could all use a little tips from there for take it over on our betting and, go from there.
Yeah, if she wins and she continues this kind of hot streak, it's not going to be a you can get on the podcast if you want. We're gonna need a statement, and we're gonna need to figure this out. So it is going to be very well deserved and is much appreciated. But enough about us and enough about our brackets. We got to break down all of the ins and outs of what happened this weekend. I've had a wonderful time watching these games. I feel like some have been exciting overall. Unfortunately, maybe some some blowouts that are a little less than exciting. But we've had the gambling part of it, and rooting for your brackets makes it all exciting, and it's all about the kids, as they say. So I feel like overall, like you had alluded to, NC State rolling is probably the most exciting story of this tournament outside of how good the 1 seeds have looked.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think they're the sweetheart team this year for sure. Despite really, they played good basketball all year long. It's not like they're a Cinderella story here, but I think they've captured the hearts of the casual fans. And what I'm most upset about here is, I said it last week. I told you guys, it was to my fault that I've been loyal to the blue blood conferences of the ACC and the Big East. And this year I was like, I'm going to get away from that. You know, I'm just going to not fall trapped to that. They're not as good as they once were. It's different. And here we are. We're sitting with the Big East going undefeated, and the ACC, if you don't count the playing game with Virginia, they also have gone undefeated in the tournament so far in the rounds of 64 and 32. They comprise those two conferences, 7 of 16 teams in the Sweet 16. And that's a pretty impressive showing, I would say, from the OG basketball schools here.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a year I rode with some of them, but not as strong as I normally do. So that hurts me, but it's not about my bracket. I think these schools, you know, have a good case to make. I mean, I know the Big East definitely took, you know, some heat, or they felt the heat by not getting all the teams in that they felt they should have. And I think they showed they were definitely well worth it in a competitive conference all year long.
100%. They've looked so good. And Mike, I know that now you've, you know, now that we've been in the tournament, you've gone with both feet and getting pretty involved in this college basketball stuff. So we will we'll touch base with Mike shortly. But Kentucky's early exit was, I would say, the most shocking thing. I guess if you can even say shocking, I guess it's maybe even part of the status quo at this point. The way that they've been shoved out of the tournament the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to me, I wanted to have the discussion over it because I feel like there's other schools who follow this path, I guess you'd say, but Kentucky definitely is known as, you know, one of the big one and done schools. They've thrived, you know, and they've been an NBA, you know, all-star producing team. And I'm just wondering, I feel like with the NIL deals, kids are sticking around longer because they're actually getting paid for college basketball. And, you know, the growth of these mid-major schools also that are having success, which I personally attribute to players sticking around longer. And, you know, I feel like the consistency and experience is huge, especially when it comes to March Madness and on that stage. So do we feel like the one and done era is over? Like, is Kentucky, you know, I mean, Duke's followed that a little bit traditionally as well. They're not what they used to be. But I feel like Kentucky's kind of the poster child for it here. And I don't know, if you look at their performance for the past few years, it's an interesting shift, I think, to see in college basketball.
No, 100%. I mean, Kentucky really broke the mold, and they thought that was going to be the new way of the future when they were able to win the tournament with all those one-and-done guys. And now that seems to be almost the only, you know, not that there ever is a surefire thing, and it seems like as soon as you find something that, oh, I'm going to remember to do this in my bracket next year, I'm going to try this in the future, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, that's immediately when it never works. But one, you know, thing that does seem to remain relatively consistent is what makes you consistent through March is usually going to be, I mean, obviously some big guards, but it's just cohesiveness and you're, you know, like players that are a little bit older, because the longer they stay in, you know, they obviously just become better, bigger, stronger, smarter. They're more comfortable usually under the coaches that they're playing with. So, you know, the one and dones were exciting, and obviously it gets them paid. You know, it gets them to the NBA faster, and you know their talent speaks for itself. But as far as going these deep runs in the tournament, yeah, I think that one and done era is a little bit different. And with NIL that you alluded to, I mean, this I feel like that NIL, the one and dones are going to be, it's less and less attractive. They can become better and better players. They're going to get paid a bunch of money to be in school, and you know, obviously, as things continue to progress, they're going to be possibly signing multi-year deals within these colleges. So I think that will, after we get through this kind of like weird speed bump period, I feel like it is like college basketball is just going to get better. The only thing that does worry me a little bit is that, you know, is it just going to be these big schools? Right. But I think with the multi-year deals, that's gonna, you know, it's gonna spread the wealth and spread the talent out a little more than it is currently. Because as a fan of currently one of the worst college basketball teams in the country, I can't stand to see this whole division of basketball, just every mildly talented player just get taken away immediately the next year by, you know, some larger program. So I think it will get better. I think the one and done era is coming to an end. And, you know, if the teams that are best at one and done keep losing in the first round, I think the fans are going to push their teams to stop doing it as well. Yeah.
No, for sure. I think that's a good breakdown of it. And I think, well, like you said, we'll only continue to see, because right now we're still seeing the effects of the COVID year. I mean, you have guys who are like 24, 25 years old.
guys are like 47.
Yeah, I credit to my brother Chad. He sent me a thing that the average age of the UNC starting lineup was older than OKC Thunder starting lineup.
Yeah, it was literally like, it was like basically the same age, which is just absolutely bananas. So it's like, that also made me feel a little bit better about UNC or NC State, as your mom might take it. I mean, it depends on who's going to be better. I'm basically riding with Joanne at this point. So one of those North Carolina colleges will probably make it.
Yep. I think that's a safe bet for
So,
sure.
yeah. But other than that, beautiful 4 days of basketball. All the good teams just continued to look good. I feel like it's been a really long time. I mean, it has. I feel like the last couple of years, a one seed has gone down in the first round, but it was almost, it's a little bit of a good year for the, the good teams making it to this Sweet 16. There's not really any crazy outlier, and I feel like this is going to sound bad coming out of my mouth because I feel like sounds like an unpopular take. And when you're watching the game, you're always going to root for the upset. I love rooting for the upset. Mike and I were sitting there watching Yale, and we ended up winning money on that. We're just watching the Oakland, whatever, with Jack Kolke, all these things that it's just like the best storylines. But it sucks so bad when the next round game is just a 30-point blowout, and it's just it's like you need those teams to try to keep it alive a little bit. Oakland, whatever, sent it to overtime and stuff, but. Watching Yale limp into the next round and just, and JMU go in the next round and lose by 37. It's just like, all right, that was a lot of excitement. And then now I'm incredibly unexcited because I just had to watch Kyle Filipowski look incredible and then just absolutely steamroll them. So it's like, I just want them to run into a buzzsaw, and I want the Cinderella stories. They got to last a little bit longer. Because I feel like if just one game doesn't qualify as a Cinderella story.
No.
Like, it's just like, if one game doesn't do it for anybody, I don't think.
No, I feel like you always know what's coming too. Like we all love the Cinderella stories. It's good when it lasts like as long as like the St. Peter's run did, right? But the slipper's falling off at some point in time, and then that sucks because the further along we get in the tournament, the less basketball games there are on, and then all of a sudden you just have this one game that you're focusing on, and it's a blowout, right? So it's like you feel the effect of it even harder as the tournament goes. And like I said, I mean, I think a lot of people feel the same way, that it's so much fun to root for the upsets, and I still do throughout all of the tournament, but every time, like you win both ways, I guess, right? Like it's exciting to see a team lose, but then when we get really good basketball, which is what we're going to have this Sweet 16 and hopefully, going on from there, I think we all benefit from that. Hopefully there's no blowouts. Hopefully they're all good games. And as they get more and more sparse, that's obviously better for us if each game is more fun to watch.
Yeah, and that's what's harder to tell too, is these good teams have to start playing each other. You kind of find yourself in this circular thinking of, well, the UNC and Purdue both looked incredible. Yeah. And then you're looking at who they played. It's like, oh, did they look incredible? Or are they going to get too cocky? Because it's like they didn't exactly, get through any big guys. They didn't exactly have to, they weren't really sweating in any of their games. But it's like that's kind of that's obviously how the tournament is supposed to be set up, where these one seeds that played incredible all season will have an easier way to get into the finals. But now that I feel like I don't know if I'm overthinking it or not thinking enough about it, because it kind of feels like who's going to beat UConn, who's going to beat Purdue. I don't see anybody beating these teams. Right. Mike and I were talking a little bit about Purdue, and Mike is fully on the Zach Edey, drinking the Zach Edey Kool-Aid. So I now that Mike's fully in, I need to hear Mike's full Zach Edey predictions, thoughts, and who's looking better, Purdue or UConn?
Full computer reboot, by the way. I think I gambled way too hard over the weekend and just needed a hard reset. Thanks a lot, team at Apple. Purdue looks really good. Purdue, I hadn't watched any of Purdue. I told Sasha I'd watched Edey grow over the last couple of years. Like I've seen him in the tournament and everything that they said about how he would, how they could shut him down. But watching him play now, I think he's going to be a lottery pick in the draft. And maybe that's why I'm not hired as an NBA scout, maybe. But he's 7'4". He moves really well. He runs well. He doesn't have – there are certain big guys that when they run, it's just like I flinch thinking they're going to get injured. He doesn't have that for me. He's got great court awareness, and now he's got, the right shooters. It's crazy he couldn't win with Jaden Ivey, who's now doing well on the Pistons, as well as you could be in Detroit. But I really think that they're a team that's like going to be very, very, very difficult to beat. I watched all the top teams. The team I didn't watch a lot of was UConn because they were just killing everybody from the start, and I didn't really have any money on them. But aside from UConn, who I'm guessing is as good as that's why they're heavily favored, Purdue looks to be like they're going to be a problem. They run a really good offense, and Edey is a problem on both sides of the court.
That was one of the lines that I questioned a little bit. UConn looks great, and they obviously deserve to be. I've seen 10.5. Obviously Gonzaga's looked really good too, but only 4.5 points to how good this Purdue team has looked. I mean, obviously it's going to be the toughest competition either of them have seen, but it feels like Purdue does have that little bit of an extra step where it's 4.5 points. I would have thought that would have been at least north of 6.5, 7.
I know. I really loved Gonzaga. Gonzaga, I was hot on going in because I just felt like everybody was out on them, and that's of course with like a coach who's been tops in college basketball for a long time. That's when you kind of pounce. And then watching them play, like they've been very dominant. They run the most like cohesive offense out of any team I've watched. So this is going to be Purdue's toughest challenge until they get to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really like Creighton as well, but if they can get through Gonzaga and take care of business and like still look as dominant as they have, then they're a shoo-in for me at least to get through the rest of their side of the bracket.
It's hard to disagree with. Sarah, who do you think in UConn or Purdue? Who do you think has a better chance of? It's a funny way to say it. A better chance of not making it to the finals, or may have a tougher road.
I don't know if it's a necessarily tougher road. I actually think UConn might have the tougher path than Purdue to get there. But I feel like Purdue, like I don't know, maybe I go back and forth on this, but I feel like the boogeyman's still there. Like they just can't get it. I don't know if they're just gonna be able to get it done. They're like things might seem like they're going too well for them right now, where like all of a sudden they falter a little bit and then they can't, get it together from there. That's kind of what I see happening, and whether it's Gonzaga or maybe they come up and and they take care of business against Gonzaga, and then the following Elite Eight they struggle. But things seem suspicious that they're going so well for them. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I said it all along, maybe this is a Virginia repeat scenario after getting knocked out last year and losing to a 16 seed to come back and win the championship, and maybe they do. But I've watched a lot more UConn than Purdue, and they're just like a well-oiled machine physically, mentally, their coaching. So I just feel like they have less of a chance to break on the road there than Purdue does.
Ironically, if the boogeyman did exist, it would probably look like Zach Edey.
That is true.
I don't disagree with that. So it has that same kind of vibe of like, it reminds me so much of like the whatever early 2000s, late 90s Red Sox, all the curse stuff. It's just like, obviously it's going to be there until it's not. And I don't know. I don't really get it. I feel like you hear the people talking about like, oh, if they make it, to the, Final Four, like everybody's going to be happy. I just kind of feel like this, as soon as Zach Edey leaves, like, are you ever going to win a championship again? And like, unless you win the championship, I can't imagine this ever going away. It's like, oh, they're going to be a good team, but they can never win it all. It's like, oh, is getting to a Final Four that close to winning a championship? Like, I don't think so, but I also am not like a fan of like one of these huge college basketball teams. And I get that only one team can win a year. I get it. But like, how many chances are you really going to get ever?
Yeah. For this Purdue team, I think it's championship or bust. With the team that they have, and Zach Edey is, for them, a generational type player, at any school. I feel like it's so hard to come by. So this like is their championship window. So for me, if I was a Purdue fan, I wouldn't feel like the Final Four is acceptable. I think it has to be championship, like you said.
And Mike, I want to go back.
Purdue fan, I would just have questions like, why am I a Purdue fan? What is it about my life that makes me a hardcore fan of Purdue? I don't know. Do you know one Purdue fan? Where's Purdue?
Like Indiana.
Yeah. Well, we're not based out of there.
Right. Yeah. Just to have all the questions. Like, what is a Boilermaker? And why does that matter?
It's a drink, right? Is it a drink?
They do have a drink called that, but I don't think that's what the school's named after. I imagine it's after somebody that makes boils. Silly.
Of course. So they're like witches.
Yeah. I think we're pretty sure.
Okay.
We're getting
Got it now. Got it.
Mike, I do want to go back to one thing you said. Zach Edey, going to play himself, whatever. Is he going to play himself for a first-round draft pick? How many four-year college players have gotten drafted in the lottery or even in the first round? This is a real question. I don't know the answer to this.
Well, I also don't have the answer to this. I assume not many lately. Tyler Hansborough, he probably got in the first round. He played 4 years. JJ
Was he a
Redick,
first rounder?
Yeah.
Redick, yeah.
No, I don't know if Redick played all 4 years. Yes, I think he did.
I think he did. But that was like
Adam Morrison
before this era.
Yeah,
Adam
but we're
Morrison.
going back in time with the NBA. NBA's going back to like the big man. They're cutting back on all these bullshit fouls that like James Harden. That's why like I think I'm back out on the Clippers, which we can get to after March Madness, because they're not going to call those touch foul things anymore. The big man is dominating again, and with the NIL deals, 4-year college seniors are going to be much more prevalent.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, I don't know, but I'm imagining it's more than you think, but probably not as many as I think. But no one will ever know how much we think, which is not
This
much.
is very hard to search. Yeah, I don't think too much.
It's 5. Let's just say 5.
5 feels good. I just feel like if he was that sought after in the draft, somebody would have convinced him to leave Purdue within, one of the last couple of years, because obviously he's been one of the biggest names in college basketball for a while now. So I maybe if they win it, show a little bit. It's maybe these brutal losses. Are they really, going to overlook the 35-game regular season and just because they lost to a 16 seed? Now, that guy's not a first-round draft pick. I have no idea. He looks completely dominant when he's on the court, and I don't know. I was surprised that he came back for his senior year, but overall, I have no idea. And I'm with you, Sarah. I'm not going to get my hopes too high on them because I've watched them crumble before.
I've got some stats.
I love stats.
The all 4-year team, the best players that have played. Here you go. Your starters: Damian Lillard. Remember, maybe you guys heard of him. Plays for the Milwaukee Bucks. Check it out.
Heard of him.
JJ Redick. We were right. Chandler Parsons.
He's fine.
David West.
I think we got to Chandler Parsons too fast.
Tim Duncan. Well, I think it's going by position. So at small forward from Florida.
Okay.
Chandler Parsons. David West. Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan's a good one.
Here's your bench. George Hill, Jeremy Lin, who I don't think was a first-round pick. David
Definitely
Lee
not.
was a first-round pick. Nick Collison was a first-round pick. Roy Hibbert. Roy Hibbert is thank you, Internet. Roy Hibbert is the example. He was the number 17 pick in 2008. That's exactly what Zach Edey's going to be. Taco Fall got drafted, and the minute he got drafted, everybody knew, not in the first round, everybody knew he wasn't going to actually be an NBA player, right? You guys knew that.
Yeah.
He was just tall. How about remember Hashim Thabit? Do you guys remember Hashim Thabit?
Oh, of course. So yeah, at UConn.
Yeah, I forget who he was drafted over, but he went second, and he was drafted based on his huge size and potential, and wasn't even that good he was good defensively in college. Yeah. Zach Edey is going to be, I think, a 2-time National Player of the Year. Is that correct? He's going to win this year. I don't remember if he's won it before. I think he did.
He's won before.
Yes.
Yeah.
A 2-time National Player of the Year. And that size, somebody's going to get entranced by that size. He's so big, and he's got good hands. And some coach is going to be like, I can do this. And the amount of teams right now in the NBA that could use a center and that would put them over the top. Golden State Warriors. The Clippers could use a better center. The Milwaukee Bucks. Brook Lopez, the problem is he's getting old and can't defend down low. You get the point. Other teams and so on and so forth. The Dallas Mavericks traded for Daniel Gafford because they desperately needed size to help turn the table.
Mm-hmm.
I think Edey, there's a lot of good big men in this. The big men is defining this tournament to me. Klingon and UConn. The guy on Creighton, the huge guy on Tennessee. Again, I'm just getting up to speed on my NCAA knowledge. The big guys are changing this whole game.
Absolutely.
So
and there's nothing that makes you
the best of them.
There's nothing that makes you look more dominant in a college game than just having a big man like that. Because when they start scoring and when they start looking hot, it's just this other team has there's nothing they can do. They just look bigger, and they just don't have the talent to just keep up with size a lot of the time. So I completely agree. It's fun to watch. It's exciting, and maybe he'll listen. I'm here to stake my claim. he's not going to be a good NBA player. And I'm happy to make that bet. We can check back in 5 years when we're still doing this podcast and we're enormous. I'm happy to come back to this episode 44, the Hank Aaron episode, and we'll check back and see what if Zach Edey is out there putting up some good numbers, or maybe just sitting on the bench confused like Greg Oden. I get Greg Oden vibes.
Boban Marinovic is still playing on some NBA team right now. You're telling me he couldn't have that career as his floor?
Yeah, I guess you're probably right.
And what do you think his ceiling is?
Hopefully higher than 7'4".
Right. Hopefully it's cathedral.
Yeah. So
a top 15 pick. You could pin that too.
Pin it. Episode 44.
Top 15.
Wonderful 4 days of basketball, as I alluded to before. We had some fun betting on Yale. Most fun I had was also you and me taking opposite sides on that Colorado-Florida game, where both teams hit 100. That was incredibly fun, just in regulation.
Because you won the bet.
Yeah, I had a good time. I had an extra good time.
Yeah.
So that was that weekend. Any other hot takes? Any other big pieces?
How much of the here's my notes. Alabama Grand Canyon. Do you guys watch that game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My notes were holy shit. That was the most electric super. No, I think that's the most electric game I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah.
And this is now chaos. 2 days later. Chaos. That was so fun. That was so fun. The guys they would do these great things, but also bobble the ball 3 times. It would be a steal, another steal, a block. They dribble it out of bounds, and then a sick dunk or a 3-pointer. That game was the most cracked out game of basketball I've ever seen.
No,
and I was only disappointed.
Team.
What's that?
I said there was no team basketball happening. It was all like fast breaks or moves off. Taking that one guy on GCU was just like an absolute one-man show. Their big guy, he was just taking it to rack at all times. Pass was not in the vocabulary, but it was crazy. Like watching it, it was one of those games where you feel yourself getting like brought up in the moment, like exhilarated, just because of the pace of it. Trying to watch it was exhausting.
I texted you guys about it, and as that happened, another group text was like, is anybody watching this? And I sent the screenshot of our text because it was like multiple people were texting me being like, this game is out of control. That was one of the most fun, that game, and then followed up with Houston versus Texas Tech or Texas A&M.
Right.
Which I think that could be, those 2 games are like the games of the tournament for me.
Yeah.
Like that got me into college basketball. I don't know if they play with this kind of intensity during the regular season. I don't know because I don't watch. It's like it doesn't exist to me. But man, I mean, if there's anything that could get you into the sport of college basketball or the tournament or brackets or gambling on these games, those 2 games, that's it. You should put that if you're selling it to like the aliens show up and they're like, what's NCAA basketball? You show them those 2. It was insane.
Mm-hmm.
Insane. And Creighton went to double overtime.
Mm-hmm. Oregon.
And then Oregon trying to beat them with 2 players, and then they just ran out of steam. Oh, I felt bad for them. I mean, I have Creighton in my finals, so I didn't feel that bad, but because I'm trying to win our bracket. I'm not trying to give up my money to some strangers. I want an extra 5-minute interview from you guys.
We can do that. Joanne's going to be hard to bring down, but we appreciate the enthusiasm. Now to get on to we got still the Sweet 16 ahead of us. We got a whole bunch of rounds coming up, and I am very, very, very excited about all of those. So, a bunch of good games that should be a little bit closer. A couple decent sized spreads. We got Arizona at 7.5, favored by 7.5, and then I'm seeing UConn at 10.5. So those might be the kind of big game, the big spread games. But the rest of these, I see them all being pretty close, and I see they're going to be really hard rock fights. Anywhere you want to start? Anything you guys want to jump into? I got a few things written down here for my hot takes, but let you guys take the floor.
I'm eager to say this one because I hate it, but I also feel strongly about it. I feel like Duke is going to take down Houston. I
Shut
don't
up.
have like
Shut the fuck
I
up.
hate it.
Shut
I
up.
hate it. But I was looking at it and it's like I feel confident about this. I don't know why. Like Duke just seems like they're picking up steam at the right time. Houston coming off a dramatic, tough win, as we alluded to earlier. I don't know. I don't like it. I think we're gonna end up with Duke in the Elite Eight, and I hate it. But that's my that's my big take coming out of
Are you
this.
sure
All right, well,
Texas
hold on.
A&M? Oh, go ahead.
No, because I've been looking up all sorts of ways so I can believe that Duke is not going to be in there. So first of all, I know that Mike is also a fan. Jamal Shed is incredible.
Another
Absolutely
4-year player.
absolutely suffocating on defense, and basically he's the main reason that like Houston had so many huge wins all season. They like all those quad one wins. Duke has not beaten many. I think Duke was 5-4 in quad one wins. I believe that I saw. So, and then Kelvin Sampson's whole team, they've basically just been scoring like effortlessly. So Duke, I think, is a lot. Duke is not played a team that is as good as Houston. Like they've kind of coasted. Like obviously, I think Wisconsin or they played Vermont and then JMU. Like they've basically played nobody. And I don't think that they can continue to shoot as well as they did against JMU. I think Houston is going to come out and just absolutely shit on them. I think that they are like Duke is, whatever. They just scored like 100 points against JMU. I think they're not going to be able to score at all. And also, the game is being played in Texas. So, I mean, it's in Dallas. It's not like super close, but I think it's going to be more of a home game for Houston because I mean, Duke fans, I think, travel well. But as far as
because they have all that money.
Right. As far as teams that can, that can still, they're going to be pretty close to home. So I'm very excited about that. They're tough to score on. I think it is going to be absolutely suffocating. And JMU turned the ball over all the time, and I don't think that that Houston is going to do the same thing. So the spread scares me a little bit because I think it might be close. But gun to my head, I'm okay taking the spread, but I'm definitely taking them money line.
I hope you're right.
I think Texas A&M might have been the best team to be eliminated so far from the tournament.
Ooh.
They were really, really good, guys. And that's the only thing that's making me, because I go into this with like my professional athlete thing of like, yeah, but that game had to take a lot out of them. But these guys are like 18 to 22 years old and they have a 3-day break. Yeah. And this is their whole lives for a lot of these guys. So throw out any sort of stamina issues. Also, 4 of their 5 starters fouled out, and so they barely played in overtime.
Yeah,
Houston,
good point.
I think A&M was incredibly, they were physical, they could get fouls, they could get shots up, they played hard. They were so good. They were the best team I saw lose over the first 2 rounds. Auburn, I guess Auburn was a really good program, but they did not look good in their game. A&M, that was a fight. So Houston, I think this is one of those where, that's where I get scared with Purdue. It's like they just beat these cupcake teams where Houston just like may have faced like the Cinderella of the tournament that could have been and beat them barely. And they beat them.
Right. So now they're going to be able to go into Duke, who's feeling the opposite, just played a bunch of cupcakes. They're going to feel a little confident and they're just going to steamroll them.
Yeah, and Duke, and Duke's Duke. That's what the problem. They could always get caught off guard because they're too busy, feeling themselves, smelling their own farts over there in Duke. So, that's what I think. I think this is where they get caught.
We talked you off the ledge, Sarah. Are you still feeling like it's going to be Duke?
No, I feel like I'm kind of like doing that reverse psychology on myself. Where if
I
tell myself, I'm like, oh, this is probably what's going to happen, then I'll be pleasantly surprised. I didn't pick Duke or anything in my bracket, so I'm right with Houston. Just my vibe check looking at this, I was like, I don't have a good feeling about it. But you guys bring some good points. I can be swayed either way. I hope you're right in this case, so we'll see. It
just feels like we can't shake them. It's like they're just lingering around. The longer they stay there, the scarier they look. Like I can't believe these guys haven't lost yet.
Yep.
Maybe somebody will rush the court. and they'll
Foot
take out Filipowski. Yeah. I don't know how he's playing so well with that graphic knee injury he suffered.
Yeah,
when the fans stormed. Yeah.
The other thing, I'm very much rooting for Creighton, but I think Tennessee has looked too good, and everything that I'm looking up is all pointing Tennessee.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Dalton Knecht looks great.
I have Creighton in the national championship.
So you still think so, or you riding with your bracket, or you really in your heart of hearts believe that they can do it?
I think if they get through this game, they will. I think this is their Waterloo. They've got to survive this game, like Houston survived A&M. I'm starting to think that like you got to find these teams that have had one of those games, and that's where they break through. And so this will be huge for them. We'll see.
Yeah, I just think Tennessee's defense is really good. Their defense looks great. They're just really, really strong. So I mean, obviously, if Creighton's hitting their threes at the clip that they want to be, I don't know how many teams can really beat them in general. But I think if anybody like Tennessee is looking really hot at the right time after getting, I was down on them after getting bounced so early from their conference tournament, but the way that they've come out and just kind of commanded those two games, I think they're looking really, really, really good.
Creighton survived double overtime. They survived a game where they were on the ropes. Kalkbrenner is nasty. He's one of the best centers in this game. But the guy on Tennessee, and I can't remember his Ames or something. He's also huge. That's going to be I think that's going to be one of the best like big man battles that we see.
Was that Jonas Idu, I believe, right? Was it Idu or
Idu?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the size of him. Like he is massive. 6'11", but he looks like he's 7'2" running down the court. He's very big, like he's built and athletic. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of Kalkbrenner, I think. And try to say Kalkbrenner 5 times fast. Kalkbrenner's the key to that offense. He's the caulk that binds all the tiles of that team together.
Yeah, no,
that's what I've always said.
You've always said that. You've been saying that for years now.
That's right. Right, since he was in middle school.
Yeah. Other than that, all the rest of these games I'm very excited for. Illinois, Iowa State. I don't, I feel like I don't know too much what to make of that game. The only thing I do want to take is the over. I think that they're both going to score a lot of points, and that over is not too high. So I'm all in because basically the last 4 games, I think that Illinois has played. Let me see what this stat I had is. Illinois has played 4 straight neutral site games. They've scored 98, 93, 85, and 89 points. So that is not a small number of points.
Yeah. I like it.
And it's the Thursday night 10-20 game.
Nothing
like throwing a bunch of money on the over and just having my heart race till 1 o'clock in the morning. I love it.
We're just out here trying to make you feel something. And then the other thing I saw, this was just enormous. That you see the UNC Alabama, the over under is 173.5.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
I love North Carolina, but we'll save that for the heat check.
Ooh, a little teaser for the people.
Alabama stinks.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's really rooting for them. Anybody, unless you're a Duke or UNC fan, I feel like everybody's got to be kind of anti-Alabama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I don't think they're good. That 173, that's crazy. You kind of almost have to take the over.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I feel like UNC scores, but they don't play. Like I feel like they're going to try and slow the game down. From Alabama, because that Alabama, obviously, as we saw against GCU, they like to push, and I feel like the way UNC is going to approach this is kind of make them feel a little bit uncomfortable, pull it back, slow the game down. UNC can score by just hitting it into Baycock when they need to when the shot clock's going down, so they don't have to necessarily push it. And I feel like they might try and take that approach. So I feel like I might go under on that one, maybe tease it up a little bit.
Baycott, there's another big man.
Mm-hmm.
You see, he's got the Derrick Henry dreads. But there's like 4 of them.
Just big, solid. You got and he's just got a big old sad face. That dude just never looks happy. Oh, he just looks like he came out of the mines to go play. It's like, what happened in your day, man? Why do you look so sad?
Mm-hmm.
That hairstyle is a choice.
It's something. Anything is better than the. Oh my God, I was just talking about it this weekend. Randy Bullock, or was that the guy on the Knicks? That has like the 4 massive dreads that all hang over his head, like one of those fish that live down in like the depths of the ocean, like to try to like trick things into coming like and getting in its mouth. I never understood that. So yeah, he's got lights on. Other than that, any other games we're looking at? I got Clemson, Arizona. I was kind of surprised. Clemson's plus 7.5. Like Clemson's looked really good, and I get so is Arizona, but 7.5 just felt like a lot of points. So
Yeah.
I think that game's a stay away from me, but I think that's going to be a really good game.
It is. I like how
And-
Clemson's playing right now.
Yeah.
Me too. They look really good.
Yeah.
And then
NC
I
State's going to beat Marquette, guys.
we should have listened to you last week, man. You
I know.
said that's your team. You said your bet. You see them on a
Always.
bracket, you bet them. You see them, you take it. You see NC State, you take NC State. And I was just getting caught up in the media, caught up in the nonsense of the teams that get hot and win their conference tournament don't always go super well in the tournament, and they've just continued to keep that form and look the best they looked all season.
Yeah, they're going to beat Marquette. I actually just really think that. I think they're going to beat Marquette. Marquette has had 2 easy games. NC State has had to fight, and they are they play hard nosed. They do not they can go down points, and they're not not losing confidence. They continue to play their brand of basketball. Their center, and I wish I was so much better with everybody's names. The center, the big fella, Ford. Is it Ford? Hold on.
So yeah, the guy with the big undershirt.
They just interviewed him. I'm part of my take.
Be something.
Yeah, he seems like a sweet guy too. He seems super likable. I've heard good things about him. Seems like everybody. It's like he's actually doing stuff in the community.
DJ Burns. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like Burns.
DJ Burns draws a ton of fouls. He's going to be very difficult to guard, and I think I give them credit for beating Oakland. Like that, the world wanted Goki. Like the world wanted that, and they put up a huge fight. I mean, the game went to overtime. And again, they didn't cave. They played good defense. They stuck to what they're doing. Burns and the other big guy, Diarra, they're two opposites. He's a very athletic. I love the mix of the two of them when they're on and off the court. And Burns is just, you can't guard him. And if he gets the ball on the left side of the hoop to play off his left hand, he makes every shot. They're the most ridiculous shots. So I think Marquette's going to be the first team to go down. I don't trust Shaka Smart, and history would say that I'm right with that. And there's going to be a good upset. This is it.
I like their team. I like them on paper, but the more you watch them, and you watch Shaka Smart just on the court being the most annoying guy ever during the game, it makes them incredibly unlikable as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hate it so much. But other than that, I feel pretty good about our recap. I feel like we're pretty strong. I think a lot of the favorites are going to move on, except for NC State. Other than that, I think it's we're hoping for a lot of good games here, and we'll tease this, get into our picks during Heat Check. We'll see where our real allegiances lie and where our money's going. So before we get to that, though, I feel like we have to talk a little bit about Shohei. I mean, he definitely was the one gambling, right?
I don't want to believe it. I don't. I want to stay naive and pretend he's still the golden boy of baseball.
I think he still is. I don't.
Was that his name? He was the golden boy of baseball.
I think so.
It's incredible to watch. It's incredible what he's doing and what he is. It doesn't make him any less great of a baseball player. I hope he wasn't betting on baseball. I mean, he's putting up incredible stats, and nothing would lead me to believe that he's throwing games or anything because of his betting. But all I could think this whole time is that Pete Rose should have had an interpreter. He should have just pretended not to be able to speak English, and you got to have a fall guy, Pete.
Have you heard him give any interviews lately? He needs an interpreter.
Yeah. I watched videos of him, and I could smell the vodka through the computer. But there's just enough forensic accounting going on nowadays that it's this can be figured out. And maybe it is already figured out, and they're just finding ways to hide it and blame this guy. And I mean, if it really is, Shohei that's doing the gambling, this guy who got fired and is basically being painted as this demon spawn is going to get such an enormous payday, for taking this fall.
He probably already got it for coming out and saying it.
Yeah. So I don't know if anything. I think even if the forensic accounting did prove that it's Shohei, there's no way that the MLB is going to let that get out. They want him.
Sasha, could you go to my bank account right now and just take money out? I've never tried to take money out of another person's bank account, but I don't even think I could get money out of my wife's bank account.
Maybe, but he just he
runs. They have a joint bank account.
I think from everything that they're saying, is that he was much more involved than traditional just interpreter. I don't think he was just a guy around. It seemed like he was a lot of his business dealings and handlings and stuff, and would take
But how does
checks
that-
and would
how
take
do you-
money.
Okay.
Siphon $4 million.
If you had a check on your table for $2 million, could I somehow deposit that into an account that then I could put on DraftKings?
Listen, we don't need to get into the workings of they're wiring people's
They
money.
still have
They
to
got
use
stuff.
people's banks.
Yeah.
Like a bank would be
Yeah.
like, sir, I need your ID.
Right.
Yeah,
I
well,
can make
you're
a
not
lot of
Shohei
jokes
Ohtani.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but I feel like all signs point to he's probably in some. Yeah, honestly, as long as it wasn't betting on baseball, I really don't care.
Yeah.
I think even if it was, they're not getting rid of this guy.
Oh,
Baseball's
definitely
on
not.
the ropes.
Yeah, that never really has stopped them before. They've never really They've never really made good business dealings up till this point. So you never know what
Do you
to
think
do.
that's why he pitches and hits? It's just because like this is a guy who needs to have shit to do all the time, and like the minute he hurt his arm, like they're like, oh god, Shohei's gonna start gambling again. Like on that one off day, he's gambling in between innings because he can't be pitching. He's just waiting to hit.
I thought you were gonna say he wanted to do that because he said he could get more lines on himself. He's like, I can only bet if I'm gonna get hit a home run. I want to see if I'm gonna what my ERA is gonna be.
First pitch strike plus 120. I'll show you.
He's got they're checking his. They don't need to check his arms for spider tack. They got to check his for a FanDuel account. Got to check his glove.
His cell phone falls out of his belt.
How would you think?
You know, it shows you what a star treatment versus a regular player because they just busted that Toronto Raptors player.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And he was like legitimately coming out of, which is crazy, coming out of games, like right before he would hit like his over on something, and then the most bet prop was him to go under, and it's like a guy I'd never heard of. He's like a backup, maybe like an eighth man on the Raptors.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like in big trouble.
That's a real.
Wow.
Oh yeah, because he's doing it on himself. The most bet. Yeah, it was him to go under, and he kept like leaving games
Crazy.
for sicknesses and stuff. He would
Yeah.
like. Not yet, like the over under on like he was 0.5 threes. He wouldn't attempt a three. His over it was like 4.5 rebounds. He'd get 3 rebounds, and then he's like, "Oh, it was an injury."
I have an
Wow.
eye. He went out for a random eye injury.
Yeah,
But I imagine like the Shohei thing, if he did gamble, they already know. They already know what he did.
yes,
And they're all working together to figure it out. I would love to know like what he was betting. $4.5 million, wasn't that the number the guy took out at one point?
yeah.
So he's not playing, he's like gambling like fuck you money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they and
I
just
would-
to shout out the guy on the Raptors, Jonte Porter, just so we can get his we can give him his
Nice knowing
flowers.
ya.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can still afford to take care of those eyebrows because it looks like a Wooly Willy spit in his face. Not a big fan of that.
Canadian prison's probably
Yeah.
nice.
Guy. Yeah, probably fine.
Just work the syrup farms.
Got to send him out to the gulag, aka maple syrup farm. Other than that, so just today, a couple new NFL rules dropped in the business. So the all seems actually
They better not
exciting.
have hip dropped.
Oh, they certainly. They, I guess we can start with that one. Will be a 15-yard penalty for the hip drop tackle that I still don't totally understand. I think it's exactly the way that they train kids to tackle is like grab them by their hips and put their weight and fall on them. But I guess there's too many times where it's like their head is going back or they're falling on them. It seems like maybe they're trying to stop the same thing that like a horse collar tackle does. I don't know if it's for their legs or for their heads. They said it happened 250 times or something last year. Now it's going to be a 15-yard penalty. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that like it's called 4 times a game for the beginning of the season until players start to maybe adjust, and then it'll maybe kind of will find its level midway through the season. I just feel like there's going to be some, hopefully not literally, there'll be some back-breaking penalty at some very important time for all of our teams that one of these 15 yards penalties is going to get called, and I'm going to hate this rule.
Yeah.
Guarantee
Summed
it.
it up perfectly.
This is another way for the NFL to just rig games.
Fine with it. It's like if you're trying to
Serious.
if you're trying to make the game safer or something, like if there's something that people are doing that's easily avoidable, and is going to stop people from getting hurt and keep the players on the field more, it's like, of course I'm all in. But if it's going to stop them from being able to tackle, and honestly, I think a negative repercussion from this is that instead of wrapping these guys up at the waist, these guys, how else are they going to tackle somebody? They're just going to fly at their legs. Like, are we just going to see like an enormous uptick in like ACL and other knee injuries because now they can't get tackled by their waist and pulled down? So these defenders are going to have to come flying at their legs. It's like that's not going to be good either.
Right.
What about like a throat punch?
We got to start training these guys in jujitsu.
Well, I agree with you, dude. Boxing just banned the uppercut because it's too hard of a hit. It's football.
Yeah,
This is a contact. Guys they really are going to turn it into flag football. Like they're going to have to. This penalty is going to come up at a big point, and then the penalty is going to go away. I think kind of like how they were reviewing pass interference for like the 1 year.
Yeah.
And then they were like, this is terrible. I think that's what this is going to be. Very lightly called.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe it won't be a big thing. Maybe it'll just be like once in a blue moon or something when it's something egregious and somebody ends up getting hurt. But I just have a bad feeling for the beginning of the season when they're trying to really show off that they know how the rule works and try to come in aggressively to make people change the way that they're playing. So hopefully they'll change. Hopefully it'll adjust. But the more exciting one that everybody's talking about is the new kickoff rule. Basically just adopting what the XFL did. I'm all in for this because this whole last year sucked. There were no kickoff returns, which was just super boring. It's like just give them the ball at the 25 if that's what the rule is going to be. So this one actually feels like they're listening, they're watching, they're listening to what people are saying, and they're making it work. So the kicker's going to take it from his own 35-yard line. All the rest of his teammates are going to be on the other team's 40-yard line. And then the receiving team is going to have either 9 or 10 blockers on their own 35. So they're only going to be 5 yards apart on the side of the receiving team. And then basically the ball has to land between the 20 and the goal line. And then nobody can move until the ball is touched. And it's also, it's the same deal. If the kickoff doesn't go to the 20, which I can't imagine being a real big issue, that's going to be the same penalty as like if the kickoff goes out of bounds, where the goal ball will be awarded right at the 40-yard line. So I mean, exciting, going to be weird to watch for the first couple of times, but I think we'll get used to it quickly.
Yeah. I feel like all of these things, it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is such a big change. And then, like you guys said earlier, it either is trash and it gets changed back or we don't notice it. Like almost immediately. You forget it. Once you get used to it.
I've read the rule three times, and I've stopped trying to figure out what it's going to look like, and I'm just going to wait till Madden comes out so I could see it. I don't understand. I don't know what the hell I don't get it. And we don't even. You know what? This is chalk up dumb brain. I've got only so much room in here for things and figuring this out. I'm just going to let it. I'm going to wait till kickoff. We'll figure this out. Sounds good, I guess. I don't know what it seems like a lot of rules.
That's going to the new kickoff rule is going to take the place of DJ Burns in your brain. You're like, that will move, that will leave, and then the new kickoff rule will be implanted. DJ Burns also would have been a great name for a DJ like in the 90s when they were using CDs.
Yep.
Ooh. That would have been a real that's the guy in high school in '97 with the cool long hair and puka shell necklace that sold ripped CDs.
Mm-hmm.
With his bleached tips.
Yeah, the worst kind of guy.
Check out this new Sum 41 song. I just ripped it from LimeWire. Napster.
And then the other random little rule from NFL that I do like that I'm surprised took this long to be implemented. Teams will now receive a third challenge following just one successful challenge, which I like. It just give teams challenges. I don't like why if the refs make a bad call and they can't review it, I don't understand why there's a limit on how many times. I mean, I get it probably for stoppages and trying to manipulate the clock and manipulate other stuff, but it's like at the heart of it, if the refs get a call wrong, I don't see why there should be any stopping the team from being like, hey, you got this wrong, you need to check it out. So I like that. More challenges are good. I
would like to go a step further, and I wonder if they ever will. I don't think after 3, if you get 3 challenges correctly, you should be awarded another challenge. I don't understand the point of that. So if you get 3 right and there just happens to be 4 calls wrong against you, you're penalized. I think what it should be is then everything after the 3rd one, if you get it wrong, you lose 10 yards or you lose a down or something like that, where it's like, okay, you can continue to challenge, but now at like the fault of you could have a loss here. So you can't just throw the red flag whenever you want. And also, if you get that one wrong, you now no longer have any more challenges.
Or like a penalty or
That's,
something.
that's
like
what I
that.
would say.
Yeah, you're
Why
basically
penalize coaches that get it right?
completely agree. And basically at the at the expense of possibly actually, it's not the expense. We'd be able to sue them because we had it first. Basically, they're just heat check your challenges.
Mhm.
If you get it right, you shoot till you miss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine. Take it. I won't even. That one's free. That one's on the house.
Yeah.
NFL. You've given me a lot of enjoyment. I'll
Mhm.
give it to you.
Yeah.
You let the Bills beat the Chiefs once. Josh Allen. There, I said it. Where are we at?
That was
42
actually
minutes.
a deep one. That's a deep one, man.
I miss
Impressive.
you. I miss you, Josh.
Now moving on to the final segment, we're going to stay screaming hot with our heat check segment, the best bet of the week coming up. We were 2-1 last week. Sarah, I got to tell you, I'm not really mad at you for losing a bet. Everybody loses bets. I'm mad at you for making me watch that fucking Virginia game.
It was pain. I told you that was with my ACC bias. I don't know what the game started and I was like, this was a terrible mistake that I have made here for everyone here. I'm ice cold in my bets, guys. My bracket's doing well, but my bets were so bad this week. I don't even know if I didn't even want to make a pick for the heat check, but it's only our 3rd week, so I feel like I have to. But I'm disclaimering it, like huge disclaimer to the listeners. You don't have to ride with me. You can
Yes, you do.
Take the knowledge that I'm not doing so hot right now, and I'll let you know when things improve.
Hey, Sarah,
Double
do you-
disclaimer: you do have to bet
yeah,
on her
yeah.
picks.
Sarah, I do have a question for you. Actually, Mike, you're probably better to answer this. Mike, how do you get hot?
Oh, you just you stay hot,
Yeah,
and then you never have to get hot.
100%.
Well, that's not happening over here.
Well, you
so.
got to get. You keep shooting. You miss 100% shots you don't
Should we
take.
talk
Wait.
about? Should we talk about staying wet from 3?
That was the most upsetting. Shout out Matt. We got a text from a good buddy of ours we've talked about on this show before. Somebody was claiming that being wet from 3 was not a saying, and he wouldn't say who they were, but a special fuck you to that person because you couldn't be more wrong.
I literally had to. I told him, I'm like, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are the Splash Brothers. Tell that to the guy, punch him in the face, and never talk to him again.
Yeah,
Even if it's his boss. Quit your job.
We will clip this part of the podcast. We'll get this on socials for you. Wet from 3 is as much of a saying as and anything else I can think.
Matt's a big listener. Matt's one of our biggest fans.
Shout out Matt. So
yes, you stay hot. You yeah. Anyways, you stay hot by
getting
you
hot.
know what I mean.
Yeah,
you just get
keep
hot.
shooting. You can't. You're never going to get hot if you don't shoot. So Sarah, you're going to keep shooting, and this is how you get hot is by shooting, and we all have the utmost faith in you. So with that lead in, with all that pressure coming down, what is your pick for heat check coming into week 3?
Well,
But get this one right though.
Please.
This is the Heating Up podcast, so I'm going to do my best here to go from ice cold. I'm going UConn -9. I think the line is either -10 or -10.5, so I tease it down just a little bit. Single digits feels better than double, but I think they keep steamrolling. San Diego State just isn't the matchup for them, I don't think. They took care of them easily last year. A good big guy matchup here again with San Diego State's big guy and Klingon. So I'm excited for that, but I don't know. UConn's just been dominant. I feel like you just have to keep going. I'm in a slump, like I said, so I feel like what makes sense is just keep riding with what's been consistent, and it's UConn, winning these games by double digits or more.
Love it. Feel the same way, and I feel like if you're going to parlay all of our picks, maybe that that -9 is fine. But I feel nice and froggy taking it to 10.5 too. I think that they're going to crush them.
Yeah,
Mike.
I was being conservative.
Yeah,
today,
that's good.
so.
That's good. That's fine.
Oh man, now I want to change my pick at the last minute. No, I'm UNC -4 versus Alabama.
Okay.
I'm 2-0. My thoughts here is Alabama stinks. I've watched 2 of their games. I don't think they're good. So there you go.
That's say no
4
more.
points ain't enough, man.
Yeah.
Say no
We're
more.
committed.
Say less.
I like I like it. I'm actually seeing 3.5 now too. So I thought that just moved, I think, over the last hour.
Why don't we just say it's like 1, and then if anybody argues, we could just be like, "Oh, that's what it was when we recorded."
That's what the line was.
Just cut this part out. Cut this
Yeah.
part out. We're not recording this. Okay.
I'm staying in the same state, and I am taking NC State, Mike's team, plus 6.5.
Let's go.
I mean, they just beat,
I like
they just beat Colorado by 4 points, and I think that 6.5 points is too much. I'm not confident that they're going to win, but I like Marquette is not. I think NC State is not worse than Colorado. So, like, if Colorado is able to keep Marquette to 4 points, like, I think NC State can do at the very least exactly the same, if not better. So, I'm all in on NC State riding the hot hand and saying that. So we got UConn -9 tees down. I'm okay. I'm okay if you want to take the full line. If you want to take the 10.5, it's an extra 1.5. Last chance.
Me? No, conservative over here.
I get it. Just listen. When you're cold, sometimes you just want to see one go through the hoop.
You can do what you want. But I'm going to be riding with -9.
-9. We got UConn or UNC -4, -3.5. Whatever line we think they're going to crush Alabama because Alabama stinks, and then we got NC State plus 6.5. So I love that line. Let's meet back here same time next week and be 9-1. How's that sound?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. We're
Sounds
heating up.
We are absolutely heating up. So, as always, we love you guys. Follow us, like, comment, subscribe, share with all your friends. We appreciate you guys sharing the bracket. So, if you guys could keep sharing the podcast the same way, we promise we'll get better and more interesting every week. So, keep coming back. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, and share it with all your friends. And we will be back next week with a full breakdown of the next 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament and all sports news that happen between now and then. So, we love you. We appreciate you. And we will listen to you next week. Listen to you. We'll talk to you next week.
We're gonna listen to you. No, we're not. It's a silent episode.
I'll cut this out. I'll cut this out.
Nobody's ever done that in podcasting. We're just gonna see our faces for 40 minutes.
We will talk to you next week.
The Charlie Chaplin episode. Good night. All right.
Good night. That's